everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and today we're talking about something very important for every English learner: how to improve your speaking.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia, and I'm so excited about today's topic. Speaking is one of the biggest goals for English learners. Many people can read and understand English, but when it's time to speak, they feel nervous or unsure.
That's right, and I know many of our listeners want to speak English more fluently and more confidently. In this episode, we'll share simple and practical tips that can help you speak better step by step.
Yes, and the good news is, you don't need to be perfect to start speaking. Even small daily practice can make a big difference.
Exactly. So if you're listening right now, stay with us until the end, because we'll also give you a fun challenge that you can try at home to practice your speaking every day.
That's going to be exciting. So Jason, should we start by talking about why speaking is often difficult for learners?
Great idea, Julia. Let's begin there. So, Julia, before we share the tips, let's talk about something important. Why do so many learners find speaking English difficult?
That's a good question, Jason. I think one of the main reasons is fear of mistakes. Many learners are afraid they will say something wrong, and then people will laugh at them or not understand them.
Yes, I agree. I remember when I was learning another language, I was so nervous to speak. I always thought, what if my grammar is not correct? Or, what if my pronunciation sounds strange?
Exactly. And this fear can make learners stay quiet. But the truth is, mistakes are part of learning. If you never speak, you never improve.
Another reason is lack of confidence. Sometimes learners actually know the words, but they don't feel brave enough to use them.
Yes, that happens a lot. Also, many learners don't have enough vocabulary or simple phrases ready in their mind, so when they try to speak, they stop and think too much, and then they lose the flow of conversation.
That's true. And sometimes learners only practice reading and writing, but not speaking. So when they finally need to speak, it feels strange and uncomfortable.
Right. So to put it simply, speaking is hard because of fear, lack of confidence, not enough words, and not enough practice.
But the good news is, every one of these problems can be fixed. And in this podcast, we'll share easy ways to overcome these challenges.
Yes, step by step, learners can become more confident and natural speakers.
Perfect. So now, let's talk about one of the most important things you need for good speaking: confidence. So, Julia, you mentioned confidence, and I think this is a really big part of speaking well.
Absolutely, Jason. Confidence is like the bridge between what you know and what you actually say. Many learners have the knowledge, but they need confidence to use it.
Yes, and when you have confidence, you don't worry too much about small mistakes. You just focus on communication.
Exactly. And here's something important. Confidence doesn't come first. You build it by practicing. The more you speak, the more confident you feel.
That's so true. I remember one of my students who was very shy at first. She almost never spoke in class. But I encouraged her to say just 1 or 2 sentences every day. After a few weeks, she started speaking more. And after a few months, she was raising her hand to answer questions all the time.
That's a wonderful example. Sometimes learners think, I need to be perfect before I speak. But really, it's the opposite. You need to speak first, and then you will slowly get better.
Right. And a little tip for our listeners. Before speaking, take a deep breath and remind yourself, it's okay to make mistakes. I'm learning. That positive thought can really help.
Yes, and smiling also helps. When you smile, you feel more relaxed, and people enjoy talking to you.
So true. So confidence is not about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to try.
Exactly. And once learners build confidence, speaking becomes much easier and much more fun.
All right, so now that we know confidence is key, let's move on to something very practical. Daily practice. So, Julia, now let's talk about practice. I think practice is the real secret to improving speaking.
Yes, Jason. If you want to speak better, you have to practice every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Speaking is like exercise. The more you do it, the stronger you get.
That's a great point. Many learners think they need 1 or 2 hours every day. But really, even 10 minutes of speaking practice daily can make a big difference.
Exactly. For example, you can talk to yourself in English when you are getting ready in the morning. You can say things like, "I'm brushing my teeth," or "I'm making coffee." This simple habit trains your brain to think and speak in English.
Yes! And another good way is practicing in front of a mirror. You can choose a topic, like my favorite food, and then talk for 1 or 2 minutes. When you see yourself speaking, you also become more confident.
I love that idea. And of course, if you have friends or family who also want to practice English, you can speak with them for a few minutes each day. Even short conversations help a lot.
Right. And if you don't have someone to practice with, you can record your voice on your phone. Then, listen to it and see how you sound. This helps you notice your pronunciation and improve step by step.
So the main idea is, don't wait for a big chance to practice. Use small moments every day, because small practice every day is more powerful than big practice only once a week.
That's excellent advice. And speaking of practice, another way to improve your speaking is actually through listening. Let's talk about that next. So, Julia, we just talked about daily speaking practice. But here's something interesting. Listening can also help improve speaking.
That's right, Jason. Listening and speaking are connected. When you listen to English, you hear how words sound, how sentences flow, and how people use intonation. This makes it easier for you to copy and use the same style when you speak.
Exactly. For example, if you listen to English podcasts, TV shows, or even short YouTube videos, you will notice the rhythm of English. And the more you listen, the more natural your speaking will become.
Yes, and it's not just about listening passively. Learners should also try to repeat what they hear. This is called shadowing. You listen to a sentence, then immediately say it out loud, copying the tone and pronunciation.
That's a great tip. Shadowing is powerful because it trains your mouth and your ears at the same time.
And you don't need long, difficult material. Even short dialogues or everyday conversations are enough. Just listen carefully and try to copy.
I usually tell my students to pick one character from a movie or TV show and try to speak like that character. It's fun and really helps with accent and style.
Yes, and it also makes learning more enjoyable. So the key idea is listen more to speak better.
Exactly. So now that we've talked about listening, let's look at another powerful way to improve speaking. Learning and using useful phrases, not just single words. So, Julia, many learners focus on memorizing single words, but I think it's more useful to learn phrases. What do you think?
I completely agree, Jason. Learning phrases helps you sound more natural. For example, instead of just learning the word hungry, you can learn the phrase, "I'm really hungry," or "I could eat something." That way, you're ready to use it in a real conversation.
Yes, exactly. Phrases are like building blocks. If you only know single words, you have to stop and think about grammar each time. But with phrases, you can just use them directly, without too much thinking.
Right. And phrases also teach you how words naturally go together. For example, we don't usually say make a photo, we say take a photo. If you learn the phrase, you'll speak more naturally.
That's such a good point. And I always tell my students, write down useful phrases you hear in movies, podcasts, or conversations. Don't just write single vocabulary words.
Yes, and then practice saying those phrases out loud. For example, if you learn the phrase, "How's it going?" practice it many times until it feels natural.
So the big tip here is, learn phrases, not just words. This will help learners speak faster, more smoothly, and more confidently.
Exactly. And speaking of thinking faster, our next topic is very helpful, thinking in English.
So Julia, many learners translate from their first language into English before they speak. Do you think that's a problem?
Yes, Jason. Translating in your head takes time, and it can make your speaking slow. That's why it's better to practice thinking directly in English.
Exactly. If you can think in English, you don't have to pause so much. Your sentences come out more naturally, and conversations feel smoother.
Right. And thinking in English doesn't mean using big, difficult words. You can start with very simple thoughts. For example, instead of saying it in your language and then translating, just tell yourself in English, "I'm walking to the bus stop," or "It's a sunny day."
That's a good tip. I sometimes suggest that learners describe what they see around them in English. For example, there's a red car. A boy is playing football. This simple habit slowly trains your brain to stay in English.
Yes. And another idea is to ask yourself small questions in English, like, "What should I eat?" or "Where am I going?" When you do this daily, your mind becomes more comfortable with English.
I love that. And the best part is, you can do this anywhere. On the bus, at home, or even while cooking.
Exactly. So the key point is, don't wait until you speak with someone. Start practicing by thinking in English every day.
That's right. And to help even more, there are tools and technology that learners can use. Let's talk about that next. So, Julia, these days we have so much technology around us. Do you think it can help learners improve their speaking?
Oh, absolutely, Jason. Technology makes practice easier than ever. For example, there are many apps where learners can practice speaking, record their voice, and even get feedback.
Yes, and some apps even connect you with language exchange partners. That means you can speak with real people from other countries and practice English every day.
Exactly. And the good thing is, many of these tools are free. You can use your phone to listen to podcasts, join online speaking clubs, or even talk with AI tools to practice conversations.
That's right. Technology gives you more chances to speak, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country.
So the main point is, use the tools you already have, your phone, your computer, and the internet, to create more speaking opportunities.
Perfect. And speaking of opportunities, one thing that stops learners from using them is fear of mistakes. Let's talk about that next. So, Julia, one of the biggest things that stops learners from speaking is the fear of making mistakes.
Yes, Jason. Many learners think if I make a mistake, people will laugh at me or I will look stupid. But that's not true at all. Mistakes are a natural part of learning.
Exactly. In fact, making mistakes shows that you are trying. I remember when I was learning Spanish, I once said the wrong word in a restaurant. Everyone smiled, but they still understood me. And later, I never forgot the correct word.
That's a great example. And actually, most people are happy when you try to speak their language. They don't expect you to be perfect. They just want to communicate.
Yes, and the more mistakes you make, the faster you learn. Each mistake is a small teacher that helps you improve.
So, listeners, don't be afraid of mistakes. Be proud of them because they mean you are moving forward.
Exactly. And to help you move forward even more, we're going to share a simple daily speaking plan that you can follow. So, Julia, we've talked about confidence, practice, listening, and not fearing mistakes. But many learners ask me, Jason, how do I organize all this? How can I practice every day?
That's a great question, Jason. A simple daily plan can make a huge difference. Even 10 to 15 minutes every day is enough if you follow a routine.
Yes. For example, you can start your morning by speaking to yourself. Describe what you are doing, like I'm making coffee or I'm getting ready for work.
Then, during the day, you can listen to English, a podcast, a short video, or even music, and repeat phrases you hear. This helps improve pronunciation and rhythm.
And in the evening, you can practice speaking with someone, a friend, family member, or online partner. Even a short conversation for 5 minutes helps a lot.
Yes, and if you don't have someone to practice with, you can record your voice and listen to yourself. Notice small mistakes and try to improve the next day.
So the key is small, consistent steps every day. Morning, afternoon, evening, just a few minutes each time, and you will see real improvement.
Exactly. A daily plan turns speaking practice into a habit, and habits create long-term progress.
Perfect. And once learners follow a daily plan, it's easier to stay motivated because they can see their progress. Let's talk about motivation next. Julia, even with confidence, practice, and a daily plan, learners sometimes lose motivation. How can they stay inspired to keep speaking English every day?
That's a very important point, Jason. One way is to connect English learning to real life. Think about why you want to speak English. Is it for travel, work, making friends, or watching movies without subtitles?
Yes. When learners have a clear reason, it becomes easier to stay motivated. For example, if you want to travel, imagine talking to people in a cafe or asking for directions in English. That feeling of achievement motivates you to practice more.
Exactly. And even small achievements matter. Did you speak for 1 minute without stopping? Celebrate it. Did you use a new phrase correctly? That's progress.
I also tell my students to visualize success. Picture yourself confidently speaking English in real situations. This mental practice makes speaking in real life much easier.
Yes, and connecting learning to real life makes it fun. The more fun it is, the more likely learners will keep practicing every day.
Absolutely. And speaking of practice, let's give our listeners a small challenge they can do today to improve their speaking. All right, Julia, it's time for a fun challenge for our listeners.
Yes, today's challenge is simple but very effective. Take 2 minutes and talk about your day in English. You can say what you did in the morning, afternoon, or evening.
Try to use full sentences and phrases you already know. Don't worry about mistakes. Just focus on speaking continuously for 2 minutes.
And if you can, record yourself. Then listen and notice one thing you can improve tomorrow.
Exactly. Doing this every day, even for a few minutes, will make a huge difference in your speaking skills.
Yes, so listeners, take the challenge today and keep practicing. Small steps every day lead to big progress.
Well, Julia, that's all for today's episode of English Learning Podcast. We've shared tips on confidence, daily practice, listening, useful phrases, and even a fun speaking challenge for our listeners.
Yes, Jason. Remember, speaking English is a journey. Don't worry about mistakes. Practice every day and stay motivated. Every small step counts.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with your friends who are learning English.
And we can't wait to see you in the next episode with more tips to improve your English speaking. Keep practicing and have fun with it.